Hi, I'm Sarah Jane from Natural Heating, and today I'm going to do a little maintenance on this Hwam stove that you see I have behind me. Now, this is a Hwam 4640C model that we have burning live in the showroom. And the seal on my ash pan has been coming off. So there was a little gap bit at the top, and that means it sucks in the air and doesn't keep the glass so clean, so I'm going to re-adhere it. Now, these can be a little bit of a pain for a couple of different reasons. The ash pan seals can be stuck onto the ash pan on some Hwam stoves, and on other ones they are stuck onto the actual door frame. Oh, this one's fallen off. So this is my ash drawer here, and this is my ash pan, and this seal was stuck on there. And before I took it off, there was a gap at the front where it was sort of hanging off, but not attached right the way around. So we're going to re-put this back on, and it's not quite as simple as you might think. So on this stove, which is the same but not lit, in a shorter version, let me show you what they're like when they're new. See, damn my fingers. Now, here's your drawer on rollers, and the seal stuck on the back on this one. Now, very similar seals on these wires, but sometimes a little bit different. So on these cylinders, this one is stuck on to the front body of the stove instead of the back of the ash pan drawer. Now, if you want to, you might find it easier sometimes to stick it onto the ash pan drawer rather than you do the front of the stove. Either works okay. Okay, so the seal is between the two, no matter which, because that seal has to be airtight. Now, here's the thing, she says as she looks for some seal. When you buy the seal for the Hwam stoves, for the ash pan gasket stuff, I've found it comes with paper. It's like double stack sticky stuff on the back. And it's expensive to do. It's a special kind of wire reinforced stuff. And on this model, this gasket stuff is a special. Can we focus on that there? It's a special kind of wire reinforced type Kevlar-y stuff with an adhesive backing. Yeah, but the amount to do an ash pan on one of these is about £45 worth. It's a lot of money. And not only that, often when it comes in, the self-adhesive stuff isn't stuck. The paper's come off, and you can't stick it on. So I don't rely on the double-sided tape. It's maybe brilliant in the factory when they're doing it, but it's not ideal for when the end user needs to apply it. And that's maintenance, and it's not a warranty. So I'm going to show you. I've got 3 pieces of Hwam rope here for different reasons. All right, so we have 2 pieces of the Hwam rope left. This is the one that's actually just come off the stove. And actually, other than having come off, there's nothing wrong with that piece. And this is a new piece that I've just cut off, which has the double-sided sticky tape on it, which is no longer sticky. Now, you can't use just any double-sided sticky tape on it. It's some kind of special heat-proof sticky tape, because any old sticky tape is going to just burn and come off straight away. Don't ask how I know that. And I'm going to tell you, but it doesn't work. So you need a special high-temperature one. And I've not found anything that stands up to the heat rating that this needs, because that seal does take an awful lot of heat, which is why it's some kind of Kevlar-y stuff, but it doesn't fray out, which is good, so it typically lasts a really long time. But I have found something we can do with the used one if it's intact, and quite often you can put the same rope back on again, because this stuff is expensive to buy. All right, so this rope here is the one that came off my stove, off this ash pan. Alrighty? So, and this one is the one with the double-sided tape. Now, no matter which one you've got, I'm going to treat it the exact same way. With fire. So, I've got a blowtorch, and what I'm going to do, I don't know if I can show you well in the video here, is lightly burn off the old tape or the old adhesive. And the old double-sided sticky tape will just burn off. That's not going to harm my rope. It's doing no harm to the rope at all. I've done this several times before, so I'm aware of what I can do with it. Don't touch it because it gets hot to start with, and we don't want to keep the blowtorch on there too long, but it's well worth doing this. Now, what we can see is, look, it's all back to being cream and it's all burnt off. And if there's any residue, once this is cooled down, you just give it a flick and it comes off. So see all that old stuff, when it's come off, we can burn that off right to like brand new, and it will come back a fresh seal. So often you don't need to spend a fortune on one of these specialised rope sails for the ash pans, because they are about 45 quid. They're loads of money. Just burn the old stuff back off and reapply it. But I reapply it with 300 degrees silicone, and then you need to get it to stick on. And the easiest way is usually put in some little plastic sewing clips. They're dead cheap to buy, off like Temu or whatever, and stick it on the back of the door. So just burn that off. Watch your fingers and your hair. And it's not the rope that's burning, it's just the old adhesive tape. Or the new adhesive tape that isn't sticky. There's got to be a better way of doing this, but this is how I do it anyway. So I'm going to go on and finish these ropes and burn this off and then show you the next bit. Alright, so it's not the easiest to do this in here, so you're going to only see bits of me from the middle up in a minute. So these are the two pieces of rope I've got. The cleaner looking end bit one is the actual original rope I had on there. And this one that's a bit darker is the one that the end piece of I've just burned off the double-sided sticky tape with a blowtorch. So what I'm going to do is, I've got some high temperature stove rope adhesive that does up to 300 degrees centigrade. And it comes in a tube like toothpaste. And we cut the end off at an angle. And you literally just stick it on. But it doesn't always like to stay on here because it's flat. So sometimes I need some grips on it. So I like to put a bead on the seam at the bottom. And I like to put a bead of this stuff on around the outside and then stick it on and then try and hold it in place. So here's my ash pan, and this is the base. You can see this line here is actually the middle of it. And I'm left-handed, so let's go this side round. Now you can put it on the seal itself, or you can put it on the tape, whichever way suits you. I think I'm actually going to put my bead line on my pan itself on this one. You don't want tons, but you want enough, because this stuff takes quite a bit to bond. And it doesn't necessarily like going round corners. It's not too bad, but it's a little bit tricky.
You'll see it in a second when I'm just going to turn it around. There you go. You see my seam line on that side. Missed a bit.
It needs quite a lot of pressure to come out the tube sometimes. Probably because you get air in it. There we go, that's enough. So I just start around about the middle and stick it on. Oh, that's quite good, and I didn't think about this. My phone case is actually magnetic and it's stuck on the top of the ash pan. So if I turn this round, you'll be able to see me sticking it on. And it's relatively straightforward to do with just stove rope adhesive. And it's all puffed back up again, So it's perfectly good to put this ash pan seal, same seal that came off, back on again, because it really doesn't fray out. Frayed, like the one we put in the bin, there's no reason not to just stick it back on. If you've made, now I haven't made too much of a mess here actually, it's quite neat, but if you've got any just over the edge and it's not where you quite want it, just wipe any excess off with a piece of paper towel. And then I'm going to leave this on the bench to set. The silicone takes at least 12 to 24 hours to go off before you apply heat, or it's going to fall off again because it won't cure properly. So I'm just going to leave this on my bench. And we're finished with the stove for today anyway, so this will be ready for put back on to get it lit on Monday. It's easy enough done, and that way I've not had to change the seal. Now, when you've had stove rope adhesive, the silicone type stuff that comes in a tube, what I recommend doing with it, let me just try and put this one here to show you, is push the tube up so you're expelling any extra out the top, because what we don't want is air left in the tube or it's going to go solid. And get your cap and put the tube in the cap and press extra silicone into the actual cap itself, and then screw the lid on. So what you'll see is that cap is now full of silicone as well, but it means there's no air in there. So when you come back to use it, maybe in a few months' time or whatever, if you need to use it again, instead of the air having got in and this going all gummy and solid and probably being unusable, you just take the cap off, and yeah, it's Gasket. Just use a piece of kitchen towel or a blue paper roll, wipe the end of it off, and it's generally good to go again. So that's this done. Once we get it back in, hopefully it saved you a few pennies, because I've found that that rope, which I've got on my stove out in the shop, that stove's 4 years old. It keeps going back on. This particular expensive rope ash pan seal, you can get away with sticking that on usually a good couple of times if you need to, because typically it's a hollow. It's a hollow type of rope stuff, Kevlar-y thing, and you just give it a squash and burn the old stuff off with a blowtorch, and as long as you're not being too close to it, you can burn the old stuff back on and it's just back to use. It's just the adhesive that's gone on the door. So it's worth knowing that little trick for that one.